Okay, so I'm going to show you what you need to do. I'm going to show you what you need in order to laminate your picture onto this piece of wood. I use this matte gel, Liquitex. Make sure you go to Hobby Lobby with your 40% off coupon, or Michael's with their coupon because it's kind of expensive. And then you need to print out your pictures on a color laser jet. And if you notice here, the Padres in the background is backwards because you have to flip horizontally the picture, because once you laminate it on, then it's going to be a mirrored image. The other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that when you print it out, that the whole thing sizes up. So for example, this is a mess up that I did when I printed it out, and I knew this was going to happen. I was just trying to show the people at Kinko's that it would happen. Look, the picture I measured, and then when I printed it out, I still got this gap over here. Whereas on this one, there is no gap on the corners there. And the reason that is because fit to page. In your print settings, you want to make sure you take off the fit to page, because the fit to page will adjust it and shrink it and make it how it is. But this is a mess up, so I'm just going to kind of do this and show you how it's done. So the first thing we want to do is take our sponge here, and I also have this nice thick piece of plastic to smooth it out. But I'm going to take off my Liquitex here and just get a little coat. And what I like to do is I pull it off the wood just a little bit, because you got to kind of put it on immediately. Okay, so this way I smear it on, and I can go over the wood just a little bit. And immediately, like when you touch it, the ink will start to come off a little bit, so I don't want to make contact once I get the glue on, as little contact as possible. Okay. And then I'll flip it around and just kind of grab this little edge here and just finish it off. Okay. So now that it's thoroughly coated, I'm going to take it and line it up the best I can here. Obviously, on this example, I have not stained the wood beforehand, but you want to stain the wood beforehand, because once you get this glue on there, and I'm just going to smooth it over, and you'll see that there's excess glue coming off the edge there. So usually I just take that and scrape it off there, and now I'm squeegeeing. And I squeegee and I get my excess off there. Okay, and now I'm done. I let that sit for about 4 to 6 hours until it thoroughly dries, so overnight. And then I get this product here. But like I was saying, once you do the Liquitex on top of here, if you tried to stain this wood here, it's gonna be coated, so no stain or paint will go in. It'll just kind of slough off because it's got a coat here. So I would make sure if you're going to do a stain or a paint around the corner. Now this has been drying overnight, and so now I'm going to show you the next step. This next step, now I've got my rag and my water. It's just a regular cloth. Sometimes when you get washcloths that are really fuzzy, it kind of gets it gets harder to clean, but they work just as fine. But any type of material. So you're noticing here that I'm just on that first layer of paper here. Now when I request the paper, I try and get 20-pound paper. A lot of times if you go get it done at Kinko's, they're gonna wanna put color photos or color laser on a nice 24-pound paper. Well, that just means thicker paper and more work to get it off. So I always tell them I want the cheap 20-pound paper. So I go ahead and put a decent amount of water on this first layer here to kind of help get it off. And you'll see that, like, on here, it's coming off really easy here, but these is where the glue has bonded a little harder. And so what I need to do is just kind of work those areas, but not too hard. You need to be careful because you don't want to put a lot of pressure. I'm starting to get some wadding up there. And so what I can do is just take my finger and just kind of roll that and see if I can get a little bit more water on there. And you just need to be careful around this area, but once you get it, goes. Okay, and then you just keep working that area. And you want to spread evenly so that you're not just kind of stuck in one area the whole time. So I'm going to kind of go here and try and work on that. Probably could use a little more water. Because eventually, yeah, see, that's too much. I just used a lot of water. And I'm not going to ruin it, but what's going to happen is I'm going to have to wait before I come back to that area because I've got too much water on it. You want it to be a little bit dry. But you can kind of see on the rag here, paper's getting kind of bundled up. And I just start working some of these other areas. Come back to this one area where I'm trying to get that one little spot there. Now, as you work these areas, you really want to, the corners are going to be the hardest to remove cleanly. You're going to have little delaminations and little errors, and that's okay too. Like it's not supposed to be perfect, and so you need to be prepared not to have this perfect picture. However, the one subject that you want, like this is where Dallin is right here, and I want to keep him. So this is my most important area right here. And a lot of times I end up using my finger more than I use the cloth. I'm not quite there yet. I can use the cloth, but my finger ends up being the best, most controlled piece of sandpaper or cloth that I have. And so I'm just gonna move that one piece there, and I'm gonna come back, and you just kind of keep coming back and forth. And this makes a big mess, so you want to make sure that you have a space where it's okay to kind of litter or do those kind of things. So I'm going to speed up the process here, and keep going. But you're starting to see. Now let me just see if I can get this. Now I'm starting to pretty lightly, I'm not putting a lot of pressure here. I just want it to wad up and kind of sand. This is the most important part right here, so I want to be the most careful around his face and the ball and the bat, because this is the main story of the picture, and I don't want any of that to get ripped off. If I lose like something back over here, I'm okay with that, but I don't want to lose anything here on top of him. Okay, and so now I'm using my finger, and I'm starting to get a little bit more control. I can put less pressure, but my finger has enough grip that you can see it just start to peel off nicely there. I'm gonna get a little around his face, and what you'll do too is you'll think, oh, I'm done, and then after a little bit, if you just let it sit for a second, it gets dry and white. And you can just even almost watch it before your eyes. As it dries and there's no more moisture there, it's gonna get more and more white. That means there's more paper to get off. So I come back and I just keep going. And let me see if I can just clear off this one spot by his hands and jersey so I can get it to the layer of the ink, and you can see the difference. So this is how you kind of know you're done. If you look closely, you can easily see his hands. But as you look towards his face, there's some white cloudiness there, and there's some white cloudiness here. And so we're not done yet, so I just keep working on his face. And then I would come down here and work by his legs. Now, if it gets too dry, I need to get some more water on there, because then I might have to get too aggressive, and if I get too aggressive, then what happens is I peel off. Now, here's the trick around the edges. You go one direction. You go out towards the edges. You don't come back in this way. You go out. This has a little bit of overlap, and so I'll probably have to like take a razor blade or something later. I'll apply a little bit of water here. And, oh, did I just lose? Nope. Didn't lose anything there. Wherever you have white on your picture, the wood grain will come through, and so if you're worried about that, then you might have to like, plan accordingly. But here I am taking off quite a bit pretty easily here. Okay, so now he's done, and that's all it took. And you can kind of see that I've got some more work to do here. If you are gonna finesse something, sometimes I don't even bother with the water, I just lick my finger. And that's about as much moisture as I need to kind of work some of these spots. So I'll just come back, lick my finger, and that's about as much moisture as I want to get onto these technical spots where I'm getting close to the edge, okay? All right, I'm gonna fast forward this and see if we can speed it up. Okay, so pretty good. Sometimes there's disasters and you're just trying to save what you can. Other times, this one's just got a little bit of like, some came off here. There's a streak right here in the middle. There's another piece right here that came off of the ink. But for the most part, it turned out pretty good. You can really see the wood grain come through on the first baseline there because it's white. And you can see some wood grain on his white pants here, but for the most part, pretty happy this one came off really well. And I can just feel there's a little bit of white right up here by his head, so I'll just take my finger and lick it, and then I'll just kind of rub back and forth, and you can feel it ball up underneath your finger, and you just get little balls of paper, and then you just flick it off like that. So what I'm going to do now is, I had a little bit of overlap, so I'm just going to take my razor blade here and just cut off this paper here. You might be able to like just, you don't even have to cut it off with a razor blade. I like to, sometimes the glue gets in there. And so I'm cutting through glue, but for the most part, that's pretty good. I got a little bit of glue right here. And so I'm just gonna peel off that glue like that, just to make it clean. And so here's the final step. I'm gonna seal this with my Mod Podge. What I like to do is, because I like a wider brush and I can't fit a wider brush, so I just take a little bit and pour it on a plate. And that way my nice wide brush can get totally covered. Now this brush is a little wider than I like actually, but we'll just, and then we just coat it on here. And the reason I like a wide brush is because I can make it nice. I can spread it out evenly across the whole place. Just a little bit more. Nice thick coat. Now make sure it's even all the way across so that there's no streaks going in any unwanted places. And then we're good. And then I'll do fast forward drying. So it's been about 20 minutes and it's completely dry to the touch there. You can see that you've got some gloss on it. You can also kind of see there, right around here, there are some streaks. It's a little sticky, maybe not perfectly dry, but you can see the streaks. That's why you want to have a wide brush so that you can control those streaks. But then one last step to this is you want this to stand up. And so in order to do that, I usually just take a drill bit and a dowel, and I just drill it in far enough, stick in the dowel, and now your trophy stands up like that. So what you've got there is kind of a little bit of a finished product. So that's kind of the last step, but I hope that makes sense and everything works out for you.